is an aura clearing reading for the calling. So I have 2 crystals here this time, only 2. I have my peacock ore, which has a lot of different colors in it, and it's basically it's really good for cleansing every single chakra and kind of representing the energies of all the different chakras. And then I have here my Shattuckite. And this is a really good grounding stone, a really good healing stone. It also has a lot to do with the third eye. You wouldn't really think so with its coloring, because normally a lot of the colors, it goes by the chakras. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and surround us in positive energy. I think I'm just going to use both of these one at a time here. Okay, so I'll start with this one. Okay. Something going on here with the crown chakra. I'm not sure what that is yet. But your crown chakra is really spinning a lot. Okay, so now the energy is going down. There's not really a lot of blocks that your guides are revealing right now. Just a lot of activity going on with the crown chakra, but not really in a negative way. It's just activity. It's just like a lot of spinning, a lot of opening, and they're actually sending me this energy like you've actually been doing a lot of cleansing. I feel like in general you've been cleansing a lot on your own, and that's actually been kind of something that you've been thinking about and focusing about. I don't feel like it's all been necessarily like with spiritual practices or something, where you're like meditating and doing this and that. Not that you're not doing any of those things, but the point is, this feels like it's a spiritual cleansing, but it also feels like it's happening in a physical way, not only through, like, obviously physical actions that we take can cause spiritual cleansing. It doesn't have to be meditation and, you know, a selenite wand or something trying to clear yourself. You know, it can be it can be physical things as well. So this just feels like you're opening and you're like expanding. So there's a little bit more of a playful energy with that. Like a lot of children, actually, their crown chakra is really, really wide open. But at the same time, there is like a heavy energy. Just because you're coming to the close of some things. But at the same time, this is opening up, you know? And because you're closing those things, this is opening up. So this also feels like being able to see new horizons. It's like you're being guided to let go of old ones. And as you're guided to let go of the old ones, you're guided into new ones too. But this also does feel like a future thing. Okay. So right off, your guides are indicating whatever energy this was that came up during the last reading, that was about this person. I don't feel like it's the person that we're going to do this aura clearing about. Because this felt like more of like a brotherly energy. Okay, so this didn't feel like a sun energy is one thing that they're pointing out. I was thinking, hey, maybe um, because of the relationship that you guys have, I thought, hey, maybe that would maybe that could qualify. You know, I was open to that, but they're indicating in the reading that that's not really the person that they were speaking of. Because when I was saying that you're opening up to new things, there was again this almost futuristic feeling. And I remember in the last reading, I got a feeling like this person coming up might actually be someone that's more of like a future thing, and they feel like a friend. It could be past too though, um, but it might not necessarily be anybody that you know right now, but at the same time, I actually feel like part of the reason that they brought it up was because then you would go ahead and do this clearing with this other person that you're doing the clearing with now, oddly enough, because it made you think of this person. And I can see why, because of their energy on their own. Um, I could see them being that way, and obviously anybody can have a brotherly energy towards someone, if they're male anyway, or they have masculine energy as a female. But with you, I think there's a different energy that's happening presently with you and this person. That's odd. That's so random. There's something about food coming up. Food. Like it feels almost like some kind of family connection, like with food. And there's this feeling almost like you've had this almost like quality time with certain people in your family. It just feels like I don't know, certain rituals, like you're getting together and just you're eating and you're talking and you're like enjoying conversation and being around one another, and you're connecting in this way, almost like with food. There's a feeling like there are things that he felt like he missed, like um that he missed out on with you. But there's also this feeling that they're sending me almost like a sense of detachment, and almost like a feeling like he doesn't need that, or a feeling that he let that go, or almost that he wants to let that go. And there's actually kind of a feeling almost like you need to let him do that in order for things to really heal. I don't feel like you have to let go of him entirely. Um, but there is a feeling almost like there's an attachment to to let go of, and almost like this isn't a priority. Um, it feels like if it opens up, um, if it opens up naturally, but it doesn't feel like to push it, but at the same time, it feels like go with your intuition. Um, if you're ever really feeling to contact them, to be in contact, it feels like if it's coming from your intuition, then go with it. But there's also a feeling like you're taking time to heal right now. Um, and that he doesn't really need to be involved with that because it feels like he wasn't really involved with that before. Um, and so it feels almost like they're showing me a tunnel, and it's like you need to be in tunnel vision with yourself, like almost um, like yourself and your own healing are the priority, and almost getting getting into like your zone or like a quiet kind of zen space, and that's what this tunnel is representing. It also represents like the light at the end of the tunnel, but at the same time the tunnel is like this healing process that you're going through. The other reason that they're using a tunnel is because it feels like they're saying that it's this inward thing. So even though you've had this journey and there's been like physical things that you've gone through to spiritually heal, um, at the same time there's this inner quiet rejuvenation that you're going to go through as well, and also that you've been going through. But there's a feeling like you're going to get even more time for that to spend more time alone, and also with people who resonate with you. Your guides are actually sending me a feeling of somehow expressing your somehow like expressing yourself is a way of finding yourself, but it feels like expressing yourself in an open way. It can be an anonymous way, but it feels like where it's in kind of a public sort of platform, almost like how I make videos on YouTube, Wolf and I, or even like a blog or something like that, where you're just like, I realize like, yeah, YouTube wouldn't be so anonymous exactly, but like, you're just um but you can go by a different name or something. It's just like there's just this feeling of you like expressing things and expressing yourself, expressing who you are. Um, even expressing emotions that you go through, but like in a way like where another person could relate. And so you're almost saying it in like a blogging type of way. They're saying like if you're open to that, and it feels like it's just a way for you to heal or process, or I'm even seeing maybe you could go to like a group or something where you can speak about things and you can process things. Um, but at the same time, a group that would be kind of open to certain spiritual things, to spirituality, so that you're not like going in there as the oddball and you can only talk about certain things, and so there is a feeling of making friends with people who resonate with you. There's also a feeling like that kind of it's relatively easy for you to do that. It does feel like people kind of gravitate to you, and it's not really hard. It feels like unless you're closed off. If you're open, then it feels like people are naturally just kind of open to you and they flow to you. Your guides are saying that at the same time you have to be kind of careful with that, um, and not be too open, and almost like people do have to almost prove themselves a little bit with you, but they mean that in a good way, like that should be there. Um, that you should know them a little bit better before you just hop into being friends with them, or being like vulnerable in any way, whether there's not in any way, because yeah, like they're saying, you don't want to be closed off, but not like too vulnerable, too open, when you don't know the person, because there is a feeling like that has been a little bit of an issue with you. And it feels like that's a parental thing because you didn't get this is feeling like you didn't get like some kind of quality time with your parents. You didn't feel this like laughing, joyful connection like the type that they were describing before with your son, and sending a feeling like he felt like he missed out on some things like that with you. But there's this is double thing here, double feeling. This, because at the same time it feels like he did get that, um, just not with you. But there's a feeling like just because a soul comes through a certain person, it doesn't mean that they're contracted to be with that person their whole lifetime. It doesn't mean that that person is contracted to raise them if that doesn't end up happening, if that doesn't end up happening naturally. So if it wasn't meant to be, it's okay to detach from it and to uh just to heal. Because there is a feeling like from your guides, almost like you gave him up for a reason. And it feels like reasons too. Like some of these were physical, logical reasons, obviously, that you had. But even on a spiritual level, it feels like, and it feels like, it just feels like contracts to me, and what you were contracted to do. Because again, they're saying, you know, it feels like the quality of life wouldn't have been there. You wouldn't have been able to support him. It feels like in a spiritual way, or in as mature of a way, just because of how young you were, but not even just physically. It feels like emotionally, spiritually, mentally, that you were younger, and there's a feeling like you knew that, and so there's almost a feeling like bravo, like this, like this wasn't a bad thing. This was a good thing. This was actually you caring. This was actually you caring for the person. This wasn't you being selfish or something because you were young and you just wanted to get on with your life or something like that. No, this was you, feeling that you just couldn't do it, that you just were not able to, um, participate in his life in the way that you would have wanted to. And for that reason, you let him go, and that was the responsible thing to do. But it doesn't just feel like that, it even feels like the thing that you contracted to do. There's a reason that he chose to come through you. Um, And the people that adopted him, I don't know, there's a strange feeling. I don't know if I don't know what it is. If they weren't able to have kids on their own, or because there's kind of a feeling, there's kind of a feeling like they might not have there's a feeling like they wouldn't necessarily have gotten this type of experience, and there's a feeling like they wanted to adopt, but there's a feeling like they needed him. There's just a feeling like they needed him. But there's even a feeling like almost like they couldn't have had kids, maybe, or like they weren't expecting kids, or they weren't expecting to have their own kids. Um, and there's a feeling like they wanted to adopt. And also like they were financially stable and just able to do it, but they felt to have this specific child, this specific boy, and it feels like that was their intuition telling them to do that. That was their calling to do that, and it feels like they were supposed to be his parents. It does feel like they contracted to do that. So there's a feeling like this is about contracts. He I don't even necessarily mean like I don't even necessarily feel like that means that whatever you did before that and everything, obviously things happen for a reason, but that doesn't mean that every single thing that happens to us we contracted to do. But the point is, once that did happen, from that point forward, this soul then contracted what it was going to experience. So it feels like the soul decided in the moment. It doesn't necessarily feel like you necessarily contracted beforehand that you were going to go through that exact experience. But you did, and so this was the soul that contracted to come through you. But it doesn't feel like they contracted to stay. So they're saying that that's something to understand and incorporate, that this does have to do with soul contracts, and that even though this person was meant to come through you, they weren't meant to stay with you. They didn't contract to take part in your life in that specific way. It doesn't mean that they have no part in your life, but certainly they're just saying that it would be a much smaller role. And it does feel like they're saying to give up on having like a big role. It does feel like they are suggesting that to not so much give up, but to just to let go of that idea, um, because it feels like that would be a push. It doesn't feel like that would be something that would just happen naturally. But again, it doesn't mean that you necessarily have to shy away from all contact, and never see this person or contact this person ever again or something like that. It just feels like there were reasons that this was decided upon, um, in the way that it happened, and what he decided. before he came through. And so it kind of, so there's just this feeling like let that happen. But at the same time, if your intuition does tell you contact this person or whatever, when it does, then do it. But then there's also a feeling, and I think this was coming up before when I mentioned that, but I don't know if I said it because the reading probably moved kind of fast. But there's this feeling that you actually have to get in touch with your intuition though, and really know what that feels like right now. Because it feels like sometimes they want me to put it in like quotes, like your intuition tells you to do something, so you thought, but it wasn't. It was more like a feeling that came from something else. But it felt like this deep, like urge almost. So it seemed like your intuition, but really it was just an urge that you felt in your guts for some other reason. Like they're saying, like some thought form or something that you were clearing. It could have been a million things, because I don't feel like they're necessarily speaking about one incidence here. There are a million different reasons that someone feels to do something that's not their intuition. And it can feel like it, but it's just an urge. So they're saying that you're going to have to learn, and they're saying you're going to have to learn, and also that you are learning to incorporate this idea that not all nudges, not all urges are necessarily from your higher self or necessarily from your intuition. It can be a gut feeling that isn't a real intuition. It isn't a vibration of like a true gut feeling where your intuition is speaking to you. It's a gut feeling in the way of you have this urge in your gut. And they're saying that those are two different things. And that they can feel similar when you're more disconnected from your intuition. But they're saying that you're following your intuition a lot more now. It's just that you were so cut off from it before. Like it would be screaming things. It would be trying to talk to you. And they're saying that you just didn't give it the time of day. Like you, like you shut off to it. You didn't want to hear what it was saying. You didn't want to listen to it because of the things that it was indicating. And the things that eventually when you listened did follow from that, the actions that would follow, out of those realizations that your intuition was trying to give you. And they're saying that you've achieved a lot because of it, spiritually, as far as your growth. They're saying that you've really skyrocketed as far as your growth as a spirit, as a soul, and they're saying and as a human being as well. But as a consciousness, you've really moved forward because of the steps that you've taken. And they're saying that that's a very good thing. So this here too is a very good thing that you did, a very good decision to make, listening to your intuition. Even though they're saying that it kind of opened this whole like God, there's an expression for this. uh, I know they're trying to send some other expression that I can't think of. So now I just want to say, like, shit hits the fan, that expression. Um, but so even though it kind of caused this uproar and this chaos, at the same time, it brought you a lot of peace and a lot of fulfillment and a lot of understanding of who you are, um, in the midst of some misunderstanding from others. So they're saying that there were two sides of the coin, but you know that when you deal with, um, all these issues that are coming up, and some of them obviously aren't yours to deal with, so they're saying let them go. But the ones that you do need to take on, that you do need to look at, that are your responsibility to address, um, once you go through them, there's this feeling like there's not going to be chaos anymore. They're saying that the chaos was there to begin with, because you weren't on your path, in the sense of um, you weren't following your heart, to just stay and stay and stay, repeatedly ignoring what this other voice, yourself, your intuition was trying to tell you. So there's a feeling like as you come to these conclusions that you're coming to, and understandings of yourself and who you are, and like you're gaining a lot of wisdom right now as you do that, and also there's a feeling of like, tying knots. So I guess they mean like tying loose ends, maybe. Um, there's a feeling like as you do that, it, it's like it puts it in perspective for you. You have some like new angle on your way of looking at things, of looking at yourself as well, the world around you. It just feels like there's a lot of realizations that are coming up because of the actions that you're taking. And again, this promotes growth. It's promoted your growth as a human being and as a soul and just as an awareness. And they're saying that concepts that couldn't come to you before are now. They are coming to you. So this is your time to heal as a person. This is a feeling like it's not time for you to incorporate other people's stuff, other people's junk, their issues. There's a feeling like, uh, it can feel kind of like it's your responsibility. Um, the feelings that this person has, that your son has, but it's not yours, because you did what you were supposed to do. You did what the contract said, basically. That he knew was going to happen before he traveled here. And so he may not understand that now. We let go of certain things that we were cognizant of before. Once we come here, there are certain things that we drop, that we have no understanding of anymore once we get here, or maybe we retain a little, but we're unable to process it in its entirety once we're here with our human mind. But when he was out there, he understood these things. When he goes back out there, he's going to understand what all happened, why that happened, you know, where you were at, and what he wanted, and why he came in this way, and all those things will be answered. I don't feel like those things are going to be answered for him in this lifetime, because I don't feel like he is open enough um, to understanding the kind of deep concepts that he would have to understand, like even things like soul contracts and stuff like that. I don't really feel like he's going to get into that really so much in this lifetime. Even if he opens to it a little, it just doesn't really feel like it's his path. It feels like his path actually is a little bit more um, normal in a sense. Not actually normal, you know, but as in, you know, spiritual awareness is the real normal, right? But just, you know, normal as in society's more normal in a sense, just in a sense less aware way, a way of operating in a sense, but at the same time it feels like that's more his path that he's chosen, um not to so much open up to these topics and these things. It just feels like he's exploring something else as a soul, that he's exploring other things as a soul. So they're saying that that doesn't necessarily make him less aware, it's just where he is supposed to be at right now. And that's more what he's choosing. So it also feels like you're on a different path. It feels like you're an older soul than him. So again, there's this feeling like this doesn't mean, you know, necessarily, yeah, like this probably doesn't mean that you're never going to see this person again, or that you're never going to hear from them, or speak to them. It just means to let go of the idea that you have to be there in a big way, or even that that's going to comfort you. There's a feeling like that also, because that's a whole other basket of worms. Oh, I think they sent it. Wait, is that the expression? Basket of worms? I think so. I don't know what's going on with my brain right now. I think basket of worms. I think that's the expression. That's the one that they were trying to send before when I said shit hits the fan, because I was like, okay, whatever this is, I can't think of it. Or maybe it's can of worms. Yeah, why would it be basket of worms? Okay, anyway, anyway, back to the reading. And off of cans with worms and, you know, shit hitting fans. Okay, getting a little distracted here. But their other thing that they're coming in with is that you didn't do anything wrong. And they're really, that's something that I know they came in with that before at one point with you as well during our session. Um, because you really have this thing of being wrong. Again, part of this is going back to your childhood. There's a feeling like your parents kind of made you feel guilty, almost like you were kind of an outsider. and you didn't really feel like you belonged, or you didn't really feel wanted in some areas. And so, and they're saying specifically with your mother, um, there was this feeling there of being wrong, and that she was right, and just that you're always wrong, and also that you can't feel her, fill her shoes as a female. So almost like you can't be as good as her, and definitely you can't be better than her, type of vibration going on there. But there's just this feeling like, they're young souls. So there's a feeling like don't judge them too much. Just realize it just feels like they are ignorant because they're choosing to be, but they're also just young souls. Okay, so I am gonna we have a few more minutes, and I am gonna see if there is any clearing that needs to be done, since this is an aura clearing. But like I said at the beginning of the reading, your guides weren't really indicating anything that needed to actually be cleared. But they are reminding me though that a lot of what's been clearing you has just been the realizations that you've been coming to, and not so much necessarily the spiritual practices that you've been incorporating. Feels like spiritual practices can help you be more stable, um, and just feel more secure and calm. Um, so in a sense, it can help you grow, but it feels like the deep growth really comes from your understanding of who you are, and also letting go of things in a more physical way. Okay, so I don't really feel like they want me to do clearing. So they don't really want us to go such a spiritual or energetic route here, but obviously all of it's spiritual, all of it's energetic. And they're again just they're saying that as you incorporate concepts, spiritual concepts, in a physical way, um it's like you move more towards your spiritual self in the physical and through the physical, and you become that as a human. You connect to that where you're at now in this human lifetime. And so this it feels like this disconnect that you've had, that they've been mentioning with your intuition, it feels like it's coming back together right now. It feels like you're regaining pieces of yourself that you had lost before, and there's even a feeling like that you'd lost for a long time. um it doesn't just feel like with your marriage, or even like when you were a teen. This feels like even childhood, even when you were a baby, um, when you were looked down on by your parents. And there's just a feeling like different things that you went through when you were really young. It feels like there are things that are coming to a close. Um, and there's also a feeling of patterns that are not going to re-emerge anymore, patterns that don't need to re-emerge anymore. You don't need to experience them again because it feels like you've learned the lessons of them. there's also a feeling like I don't feel like you necessarily contracted to have ultra like specific like glued detailed experiences, or even in some ways with certain people, there's a feeling like you didn't necessarily contract to be with those specific people. But what you did contract to do was that your soul was um, that what your soul was resonating with, and what it's found resonation with has just been the learning of life lessons. And it contracted that in this lifetime, it's going to close certain patterns. Um, and so it's going to do certain things that help it to retain itself and the knowledge that it had before and come back to its center. And it feels like so that in other lifetimes, it can grow just like exponentially because it won't have those patterns anymore. And also there's a feeling like it can start off having just a more grounded, centered experience. It feels like maybe not even on Earth. It actually feels like there's a future lifetime um, kind of close to this one that is not going to be on Earth, where you're going to be experiencing just a lot more peace. There's a feeling of nature, but this feels like out in space. This feels like another dimension. So this feels more like a star seed lifetime. Um, so on another planet, where things are just more peaceful. There's not so much turmoil like on Earth because people are around you are just on a higher vibration. And it feels like you need that lifetime. It feels like it's just it's going to be like this kind of peace that you're going to experience. And there's a feeling like you need that, but there's also a feeling like you're starting to incorporate some of that now. And that's why you'll be able to have that lifetime um as one of your like very near spirit very near future lifetimes, maybe even your next one, like, or the one right after that. It feels like very very soon. um but it just feels like there's a lot that you're learning now, and just sort of a lot of um portals. For some reason, they're saying portals. There are like portals that are opening, but there's also like gateways, doors that are closing, that are shutting permanently. They're saying, and they're saying you don't need that karma anymore. Is what karma is it's just life lessons. That's what karma is. You're just learning these life lessons. And it's like you have them in your aura. I'm going to learn this lesson that my soul hasn't really gotten a handle on yet. And my soul hasn't really gotten to experience yet the full on completion of that cycle, or just that lesson. Hasn't really been able to incorporate it quite yet. Okay, so our time is up, and but your guides are indicating that that is all that they have to say for now. So thank you very much once again, the calling, for allowing me to do this reading and different type of clearing. Maybe I should put that in quotes, clearing, for you. And I truly hope that it benefits you. Thank you very much. Namaste.